Most people, when they're using their bodies, only care about the objective. They're dominated by the numbers, where I believe it should be aimed if an individual wants to maximize value of physical activity in their lives, is to aim it at their spirits, is to aim it at the spiritual realm. Shall be artists with our body and think about how we want to express ourselves in a way that fulfills a deep desire within us, love or passion or joy. When we aim ourselves with sport here, we end up with a tremendous amount of meaning and purpose in our lives.
Welcome to the Same Free Podcast. In this episode, I spoke with Jordan Goldstein. Jordan is a trail runner and teacher of ancient sport wisdom who coaches men, elite athletes, and teams, helping people to find their purpose through athleticism. Jordan was previously a guest on the podcast for episode 40. That was a really cool conversation, so I definitely recommend that you check out that episode before listening to this one. So in this one, we went a little bit more into Jordan's backstory and how he used sport to turn his life around. And then we cover a whole host of new territory as well, but mainly theming around the idea of sport and how sport can enrich our lives and bring us more meaning and purpose. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give it a like and a share on social media. If you're enjoying the podcast so far, make sure you give it a 5-star review in whichever podcast app you're using. If you're not listening already on the Fountain app, then I definitely recommend that you do that. It's a really good way that you can help support the podcast by streaming sats as you listen, and you can also give a comment in the form of a boost. And I'll read out the boost now that were left on the previous episode. So Pierre's boosted 420 sats with the message thank you. Thank you so much as always, Pierre's. And then I think we have a new booster here. Lou Bellu boosted 1,000 sats saying, interesting, got me thinking. And there's another message here from Lou Bellu with another 500 sats saying, Bashar talks about having a high vibration to tolerate veganism without becoming ill. And there's a link there. I haven't heard that one, Lou Bellu, but I will check out the link. But I guess to see this as more of a kind of chicken and egg situation. I think that compassion towards animals and veganism being the highest expression of that is the route that you can actually raise your vibration, raise your consciousness. But it is definitely an interesting idea that maybe it works the other way as well. So I will check out your link, Lou Bellu, and thank you for sharing that idea. As always, any way that you can support me, whether that's on the Fountain app or sending a Bitcoin donation, you can also give a donation on Buy Me a Coffee. There's a link to that too in the description. All these things are hugely appreciated, and it does encourage me to keep bringing you content, which I hope that you guys are all enjoying and getting value from. All right, on to this episode with Jordan Goldstein. Jordan, welcome back to the podcast, man. It's awesome for you chatting to you again. We had such a good conversation last time, and I'm looking forward to getting some new areas with you today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me back, Johnny. That was one of my absolute favorite podcast conversations, the one that you and I did, like 2 years ago, maybe?
Yeah. I don't know how many you've been doing around that time, but I've noticed that you've done some since. You were on Parallel Mike's podcast as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. I think he hooked up with me through that original one that you and I did a little while back.
Sweet. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I haven't listened to the episode yet, but I'm just catching up on his stuff at the moment, so I'm sure I'm going to arrive at it soon. But man. So how's life been treating you since then?
I mean, when we last talked, I can't even remember if I was in the university or not in the university still.
I think you were recently out.
Would have been pretty close.
Okay.
I was either teaching my last semester of all time, or I had just finished teaching my last semester of all time. Back in 2022. So I've been developing my online coaching, which is based around fitness, holistic health, and effectively like mindset work. How do we get rid of limiting beliefs, and how do we grow beyond sort of the limiting thought patterns that tend to hold us back. And this is manifested a lot in physical health, but it doesn't always have to be done sort of like through like the gym or through fitness. So I work with a bunch of different people in that space, either helping them get fit, using fitness and using the honesty of physical activity as a foundation or as a basis for life coaching, and kind of mixing it all together depending on what the individual needs. And then I've also joined up and I coach on a online endurance training team, which that's the flag you can see there. And I'll just brand wash forever. The shirt here. I got hats too. I can brand wash everybody. So we are an online endurance training team, Tribal Training, run by Ryan Dreher. I'm the Tribal Prof. So we basically train people for long races, Ironman triathlons, half Ironmans, and ultra marathons. But we do it in that same holistic understanding of training body, mind, and spirit together, and really looking to extract personal development lessons through our training and competing. And sort of the joke that we make is we are actually a personal development club that masquerades as an endurance training team. So we do the endurance training, but the real goal of everybody who's kind of like in it and who's really buying into what we're creating is to use physical activity and specifically this style of training to grow in all areas of our life.
Okay, cool. Nice. Man, you've really brought together all your passions into one thing there, man. That's awesome to hear you doing that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. It took a lot of hard work and a lot of struggle. But the hard work pays off if you just keep at it.
Yeah, 100%. On that note, actually, as I was saying to you before the conversation, when we had our last chat, like we didn't go too much into your past. We kind of started the story at I guess this kind of battle you were having with the university at the time and, all this kind of COVID nonsense. But I never really went kind of into your past. And normally I try to do that with my guests. And then I realized you actually have a super interesting story there about kind of going from a place of pretty bad health and then turning everything around and becoming healthy, like in body and mind and spirit and all the rest of it. So I really want to go into that story. So do you mind just kind of like starting there and then, we can kind of see how that all went?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say growing up as a kid, I was very athletic. I was very sporty, always moving around, like naturally talented in athletics. And I had a fast metabolism, so I was always lean and I was always running around and moving. I played high level soccer up until I was 18. And then I was injured badly 2 seasons in a row, both to my left leg. My ankle got destroyed and my knee got destroyed. So that kind of kicked me out of high level athletics for a little bit. But I always knew in the back of my mind that I wanted to get back into fitness, and I kind of just put a little bit of a goal, a little bit of a guardrail on myself. Like when I enter my 30s, when I turn 30, I will be healthier, I'll be fitter, I will be stronger than when I turned 20. Like that was my goal. So I had a little bit of leeway in there. I played in a band after I stopped playing sports, and just over time became far too sedentary, far too comfortable not moving my body. So I never really like ballooned to like a giant weight. The worst that probably happened to me was just body composition. So I probably got skinny fat. So for people who don't know what skinny fat is, that's like you're within the normal health. You're within the normal weight range, but you have basically no muscle and you're all fat. And it's kind of like a sign of metabolic syndrome where your body has a real problem burning fat because you're not teaching it how to burn fat because you're not moving enough and you're just kind of like feeding it refined sugar and refined carbs. So that was probably the worst that happened to me. I never got overweight, but I don't think I was healthy. And then what happens to a lot of people that sort of kicks them out of their malaise around their physical health is they have a health scare. They have a health episode. Usually this happens to people older, right? It's like a cardiac arrest, or I've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And then it's like, oh shoot, like I've really neglected my health and I have to do something about it. That kind of happened to me, but I was lucky enough that it happened in my mid 20s. And that just came in the form of kidney stones, which are not fun, like at all. And so I dealt with the pain and the discomfort and the excruciating horror of having to pass those things, which they're not fun. And I started getting sent to a whole bunch of specialists, kidney specialists, urologists, like nephrologists, urologists. And they were putting me on medications and telling me to change my diet and doing all these things. And none of it seemed to be doing anything for the symptoms. And then I just started to, I'm an intellectual person. So I just started reading around on, kidney stones, what causes them, how do we mitigate the symptoms. And one thing that just stuck out to me, like a monster red flag, was like sedentary lifestyle, lack of physical activity. And I looked back at my life over the past year and it was like, where did the motion go? Like, even though I wasn't working out or playing sports, I was walking everywhere or I was biking everywhere. So I at least had some low level daily activity. But then I got a car. As I mentioned, I was in a band. So I got a big minivan so that we could haul our gear around to shows. And then I stopped walking everywhere and I started driving everywhere and just sitting. And so I thought, hey, like, maybe if I just start exercising, that's going to help. So the first thing I started to do was get into the pool because I like to swim. I know how to swim. And I know it's a really great full body aerobic exercise that's also going to build some resistance. And I just wanted something that was easy for me to get back into because I'd been out of it for so long. And it made me feel good. Like, I felt as if it was having I felt as if it was having an impact on the symptoms. So I went back to my urologist and I talked to him about it. And I said, hey, like, what do you think about daily exercise? Because I kind of wanted him to prescribe me exercise so that I could actually I don't know what that would have done for me, but it would have been nice to be like, oh, that's great. You should keep doing that and go do more and harder. I kind of wanted that push from him. When I told him, hey, I've been doing this and it seems as if like a lack of motion might be causing these things. So is this good? Should I keep doing it? And Buddy laughed at me, like legitimately snickered in my face and said, it doesn't do anything for you. Like, stop. Don't worry about it. Like, it's useless. So that was my signal to never go back to him or to any of the other experts who didn't know anything about what was going on. And it's funny because especially in the kidneys, they don't know what's going on. They don't know what causes kidney stones. They don't know. They legitimately don't know.
I thought that it was like people who didn't drink enough water or something like that. Is that not the case?
Maybe. It's like sometimes people think it's because you have too much calcium. Sometimes it's not enough calcium. It's like too much oxalate, not enough oxalate, like dehydrated. Like, they don't really know. Certainly if you're dehydrated, it's not great. But in terms of like what actually will cause them, it's not like you stop drinking water and you get kidney stones. Like, there's other things that have to happen.
Right.
And so that just set me on this journey of using the feel of my own body as a calibrating metric to my own health in a way that I think has really been powerful and beneficial for me. And it started to connect with some of the things that I was studying as a aspiring PhD in sport history, in terms of the societal benefits, the cultural benefits of, places in history, in certain times, certain spaces where athletics have been promoted, not just as something that's utilitarian, but as something that is like more, is like a moral activity. So something that will build character. And so through my own personal journey of like rediscovering fitness and health and learning about, sport at a high academic level, I began to really like crystallize my own budding philosophy as to the role of sport and how it should be used in individuals' lives for maximum value. And that sort of has led me to what I was describing that I do at the outset of this podcast. So that's like, I guess, a brief overview of that. And I'm happy to dive into any of those details or to take the conversation in any direction. But that's, I think, is that a good enough overview?
Yeah, that's a nice start. I guess the place that I want to dig in here is when you went from kind of doing all of this sport and then you had this time when you weren't doing it. I think you said you had an injury and you weren't able to kind of like play sport at the same level. How did you feel during that time when you kind of went from being engaged in sport to then not doing it? Did you notice that there was a different feeling in your body, in your mind, all of these kind of things? Or was it kind of in the background to you? Because I guess I feel personally like very attuned. If I don't exercise, I'm very aware that my state of mind has changed, but I didn't used to be. This wasn't something I always had. It's only something that I've kind of developed over time. So now if I go a few days without working out, I'm noticing my thought patterns are different. I'm noticing that my disposition is different. But I didn't always have this. I certainly didn't have it when I was in my teens. Didn't have it when I was in university. I went kind of long stretches without doing too much exercise. And I didn't really notice it too much. But I'm sure it was there. It was just that my awareness wasn't there. So I'm just interested to know like how you felt in yourself.
So in terms of being like mature enough to understand the connection to like your mental states, definitely not in your early 20s, as you mentioned. Like that was not anything that was on my mind. But, having thought about this, and certainly this is a particular issue that I've thought quite a lot about. And the general issue is this. It's like, why do so many people who played sports growing up stop the moment they become adults? Right? I think this is a pretty universal pattern for sporty kids, right? So there's a couple things that are happening that I think explain why this is so like painful and why it causes people to engage in self-destructive behaviors. So the one thing that masks this transformation is you move from a place of participating in sports to consuming sports. So you actually able to deceive yourself that you are losing it because you just substitute the action with the consumption. So people out there listening will certainly resonate with this. The time in my life when I watched the most sports and when I like played the most sports video games or like was just revolving around playing fantasy sports was my early 20s, like late teens, early 20s, right at that moment when I stopped playing sports. So in order to confirm my identity as an athletic person or someone who cares about sports or loves sports, I just simply substituted the consumption for the participation, for the action. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people. So you're not even aware and you're not even thinking about the fact that, I'm not moving anymore. I'm just doing the same thing, but this is the appropriate space for me to express myself now.
Yeah.
And that's the second part of this equation. If we don't, as, like athletic youth, reach the next level, whatever that next level is, whether that's like going to the pros or if you're in like North America, like going to college, for example, like getting a scholarship and going to school as an athlete, you're basically told to give it up, right? You're told to give it up, like, because now you're an adult and adults live in the serious world. And if we are doing anything seriously, it's got to be related to like my occupation or utility or a practical reason for doing something. So if I didn't make it to the next level, my ability to play sports like in a serious fashion is X'd out. It's canceled for me, right? I'm told it's not appropriate for me to do this anymore. The only way for me to scratch that physical itch, go to the gym and do the same rote exercises over and over, because the only thing you can responsibly do with your body now as an adult is mobilize it for physical health, right? Because that's serious, right? That's practical. There's a utility to doing that. Like, it's not okay to play games as an adult unless you're being paid millions of dollars to go and play those games, right? Even those athletes that like live in the minor leagues, we look at them like, shouldn't you just quit by now? Like, shouldn't you give this up? Like, isn't this a pipe dream? Like, what are you doing? There's this idea that if we continue to love playing sports as adults, we're these stunted adults, because adults should give away the childish things that were useful to them in youth, but like bury them and get on with this serious work of being an adult. Right. Yeah. So there's these two kind of, like, those things work together. We're conditioned by society to give up playing sports, and then we have an identity as a sporty person. So the only avenue that's really left for us is to become fanatics in consuming sport. And if we don't make that necessary transition, here's what really is happening. This is a form of ego. It's a form of identity death, right? So it's like, I had a dream of playing soccer at a university level, right? Like a high level soccer. I got injured. Bam, bam, bam. So my dream is done. So my identity as a high level athlete no longer exists. What society does, that example of you got to give this up, right? They come in and they laugh at me. And they say it's something like, you really thought you were good enough to play at the university level? Are you deluded? Like, you really thought you could go on, maybe play in the pros? Like, what's the matter with you? Like, that's a dream that needs to die. And the sooner you accept it, right, and the sooner you realize how foolish it was, then the better off you'll be. So for a dude, like in his late teens or early 20s, this is a really bad position to find yourself in. The thing that you cared a lot about is no longer available to you. Your identity has to shift because that old part of you has to die. And then society comes in and kicks you when you're down and laughs at you instead of supporting you, picking you up, and offering you an alternative direction. It's like, yeah, maybe you're not going to make it in soccer, but there's a whole host of other sports you can throw yourself into, train in, get better at, achieve, move up the ranks, be a serious athlete, and still be an adult. Like, that option is open, but we're not told that that's an open option. And so, sport as a place of expression, as a place of personal development, as a place of imagination, curiosity, joy, love, freedom. We are closed off as adults to those experiences because we're told the only acceptable way for us to move our bodies is in the gym for physical health. And the only responsible place for us to deal with sports is as active consumers in a fanatical fashion. I just think all that's wrong. I just think all that's wrong.
No, I agree. I think that there's a culture of you get rid of the kind of competitive sports and you adopt sports which are more, I guess, like individual, which is fine. Like some of them is great and you can still kind of like work hard to achieve something doing an individual sport. But why lose those competitive sports? Like, is there any reason just because you're not playing at a high level, it doesn't mean that you should just get rid of them? I mean, there's still so much like value to be had for that. And I think that this extends, like this kind of idea in society extends beyond sports though as well. It seems to exist for a load of different things. It's like if you're an artist or whatever, as soon as you kind of get to that point where you're like towards university or whatever, it's like, oh yeah, I know you really love drawing, but that's not really a career. So why don't you, maybe you can do like some kind of a creative university degree, but it's got to be like really focused on whatever job you're going to get at the end of it. But like the art thing isn't going to work out for you. I mean, I actually think that like people or society gets people to give up on their dreams like pretty early, because personally, I think it's like you're not going to be like at your best that early. Okay, maybe with some sports, okay, you're going to hit it really early on. Maybe you're going to be at your prime in your kind of like early 20s or whatever in some sports. But there's other things that you might excel in later, whether that's art or sport or anything else. And actually, I think like sometimes when you become more of a rounded individual, when you actually learn more about the world and stuff, that's when you're going to come into your best anyway. The problem is society kind of like takes you kind of at the point you're going to university and it's like, okay, time to drop everything that's not going to, make you money now and just like do the thing that's safe, do the thing that's easy, do the thing that you can get the career in.
Yeah, and I love how you connected this to like artistry and creativity, because from my vantage, like, what's the greatest value that sport or like physical activity can provide for an individual? And it's not just the body. Like that's the entry point. That's the lowest level of utility. And that's sort of like where we are told to remain, right? So physical activity is for the body. Okay.
Clear.
But what happens when we aim it somewhere else, and where I believe it should be aimed if an individual wants to maximize the value of physical activity in their lives, is to aim it at their spirits, is to aim it at the spiritual realm. And that's the realm of play. That's the realm of creativity. That's the realm of imagination. That's the realm of freedom. That's the realm of I'm going to do it because I love to do it. And I don't care about the end, because the end is the action. Like the play is the end, right?
Yeah.
And when we do this, when we aim ourselves with sport here, we end up with a tremendous amount of meaning and purpose in our lives. And that's what people don't have in our modern society. They lack purpose. They lack meaning. They lack the why am I doing this? I've been told to do this and I have done it and I'm not happy. I went to school. I got the job. I kissed butt. I got the promotions. I got the 2 cars. Like I got the fancy TVs. Like whatever it is, I got it. But I don't enjoy my life and it's not meaningful and it lacks purpose and direction that is connected to my passion, that's connected to what I desire for myself, apart from other people, apart from external expectations, right? So you're so right to connect this to like the death of the artistic drive, or the death of dreaming, or the death of striving, because we're just told in the adult world, settle on all those things, because what's more important is the practical reality that's in front of you, which is like you got to get status and you got to get material wealth, right? Because those are real, those are measured, those are tangible. But something like purpose, how do you measure purpose? How do you measure meaning? And that connects to sort of the larger epistemological frame of our society, which preferences and promotes the objective far more than the subjective when it comes to determining the nature of truth and the nature of our experiences, right? So subjectively, that's like what matters to me. Objectively, it's like what I have. And the society we live in says the objective truth is the truth, and the other things are kind of just like, yeah, they're there. So don't focus on the things that are there. Focus on the real things, the things I can touch, the things I can measure, the things I can record, the things I can show off to other people.
Yeah. And, you know, the irony of all that as well, the kind of like cruel irony, is that the things that society tells you, okay, you've got to pin everything on this thing, whether it's the, you know, career, the car, the money, all of these things, they say, you've got to have that. But the problem is all that sand shifts below your feet, because they go, oh yeah, like that's great, you did the career thing, you earned all the money, but now we have inflation at 20%. So sorry, that dream has just crumbled in front of you, because all of this stuff that we've just made you build up to, that's just crumbled. You know, the joy of something like, you know, these kind of like subjective experiences that you're talking about, the joy of them is that you are your own measure. Like if you want to sit down and paint something, you want to paint a piece of artwork and you're like, you know what, I don't care about selling this, I don't care about doing anything with it, I'm just going to do something which is for my own good, which is for my own like personal development, I enjoy doing it, it speaks to my spirit or whatever. Like at the end of it, you have the value of it, you have the ownership of it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks to it. It's the same with sport. You know, you go out and you say, right, I'm going to go and do this run. No one else really cares that you've gone and done a trail run or something like that. But for you, this has like deep meaning. But we're kind of encouraged to like not care about those things, which we actually have an ability to kind of like feel out the results. Those results are going to like have a actual tangible impact on us. Like we're going to have a measurable impact personally. But no, you've got to go and get the, the 3-bedroom house or whatever. And then you get it and you realize you're in loads of debt, and all of these kind of like the society prescribed things that we're supposed to aspire to. They're so much more kind of ephemeral, like these things that we're talking about, they're easy and they're accessible. And, maybe that is the reason why we're just discouraged from them.
Yeah. It's like, it's all related to the ascension of the rational mind, right? And it's like, if the rational mind is the most important part of us because it allows us to analyze, it allows us to like observe, it allows us to experiment, it allows us to synthesize, right? It allows us to predict. And then we look around and we see all the amazing products, the material wealth that rational mind, right, when it's subjected to sort of a rigorous method, can produce. Yeah, that can become like intoxicating. Is like, well, shoot, the mind really is where it's at, right? But the more the only word that's coming to my mind is deconstruct, and it's just a really bad word because the deconstructionists and the postmodernists, they just destroyed language, and you say deconstruct and it's like, oh no. But the way I'm sort of understanding the connections between body, mind, and spirit, right? Because I have a philosophy, philosophic ideal or position that these are all the same, that they are integrated, that they are connected. They're not separated. They're not separate parts of me. They are me, but they do different things. So from that perspective, I really want to know, like, what's the interplay between all these things, between the body, between the mind, and of the spirit? If they are the same, but yet they all do different things, what are they doing and how are they interacting with each other? And the mind gives us this powerful rationalizing ability, which is amazing. But you know what else the mind does? The mind automatically filters reality for my use, for my utility, right? Like, I don't see everything. I don't see the entire world through my eyes. My brain powerfully filters out the things that are not useful for me, right? So my brain actually creates shortcuts to help me navigate the world because my rational mind cannot compute and comprehend the total reality that's in front of me. So the brain is actually much more of a filtering mechanism than it is of like an exploration mechanism. It's actively creating shortcuts that are going to make our lives easier to move through, which is good, but that's also related to things like my ego. And that's where a lot of illusion, self-deception, self-denial, lying to myself, a lot of that play comes in. And we just need to look at, a few basic psychological studies to see that the way we act is not rational. We do not do like a cost benefit analysis, and we do not like induce our way up to the rational choice. You know what I mean? We make a decision based on our emotions, based on our feelings, based on our gut. And then the rational mind comes in and gives us the justification. It backfills in the rationalization so that it doesn't matter what I choose. It's always going to be able to be pieced together by my mind to be the right decision, right? Because who wants to live with the knowledge that, oh, I made a mistake. I did the wrong thing. That was, you didn't do the right thing. That's not really like there's a part of that that's useful, but it's really useful to just keep feeling good about yourself. Like, it's a lot better for you to feel good about who you are than it is to feel bad about who you are. So your brain is going to like operate in a way to trick you into feeling good about yourself when you shouldn't feel good about yourself. This is why we need to have external conversations with other people to check us. Be like, dude, get out of your own head. Like, what are you even thinking about? Well, it's because we cycle through the same thoughts and we do it in such a way until we've washed out the dirt so that we have like a clean understanding of ourselves. So the mind, while it is powerful, more often works against us in a personal development space because we seek out the comfort and we seek out sort of like the easy shortcuts that make our lives better. And it's not a fault of any individual, but that's like kind of how our brains are wired. So then how do we counteract that? Well, we would bring in the body and then we would bring in the spirit as a way to learn these tricks and then combat them when they start to manifest into our actions and behaviors.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm just thinking right now, like, in terms of like that mind, body, spirit connection, when it comes to the mind, like you said, it is 100% natural that you want your mind to be, or you want the good feels, right? Like you want the dopamine going on, you want to have good experiences in your life. That's what you're always going to shoot towards. Like it doesn't make sense to say, I'm going to just create some random conflict in my life because I want to suffer in my mind. Like no rational person would make that decision. And the same with the spirit. You're not going to be like, okay, I'm just going to spiritually corrupt myself in some way because I want to feel the suffering of having no spirit. Like that's just not really something that you ever pursue. Whereas when it comes, so then you could ask the question, well, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with having an unhealthy mind, having an unhealthy spirit? Like how do you deal with the suffering if you can't train yourself for it? Perhaps the outlet for training yourself for that suffering is the body. The body, you can have this temporary suffering. You can kind of like voluntarily suffer through sport, through endurance, through that kind of stuff. And then through that, you can say, okay, I know what it is to suffer. I know that my body feels this way, and I know that I recover from it. And then you can kind of translate that to the mind and say, okay, I've been through it with sport. I've been through it, through endurance. So that is my training kind of like arena for suffering. And then I can translate that to the mind, like I think that seems like an obvious connection. I've not necessarily even thought about it that way before, but just kind of like hearing you talk about it now, I think that there's definitely something there.
Oh, for sure. And like you mentioned the fact that like I don't want to feel bad about myself. Well, it depends. The ego wants to be confirmed. And if I have a negative self-conception of myself, like I'm fat, I'm a loser, I don't do this, I don't do that, then every time that's confirmed to me, it actually makes me feel good. It's kind of a strange thing. So people,
that is interesting.
So people do it, as long as it's fulfilling like a positive vision of yourself, it can be negative. And the positive vision is just, I was right about who I am. So it's like, if I'm a failure and every time I try, I mess up, then I'm going to be kind of happy when I mess up because it's going to confirm that I was right about who I am. And
I see, yeah.
Going to make me feel a little bit better, but it's not going to give me a life of meaning or purpose or happiness. But it's like that temporary illusion, right? It's a temporary delusion. So the mind's super powerful, and it will take us into dark places just to make itself feel better, right? So that's an important thing to distinguish. But your point's correct. It's like, there's no rational reason why somebody would do that, yet that's how everybody acts. So we don't act rationally, right? So we don't act rationally. So therefore the rational mind is limited in its ability to provide like purpose and meaning. And if the mind is a place of illusion and deceptions and shortcuts like heuristics, which it obviously is, like there's a reason you don't see your nose, even though it's right in front of your eyes, because you don't need to see your nose. So your mind blocks it out. Well, what is the body then? The body is the place of truth. The body is the ultimate place of truth because you cannot deny what happens to it. This is why exercise is so powerful in a personal development space, because if I tell you to go and run a 100-meter sprint and you do it, that's the truth. You've done it. And you're going to feel the truth in your muscles and in your lungs, and nobody can take it away from you. And there's no backwards rationalizations about, did I run the 100 meters, or did I not run the 100 meters, right? So there's an objective truth that is confirmed through our experience of the body. That is like why this is a great place to counteract some of these like delusions of the mind, because we can then, as you suggested, we take the honesty of the effort that we do with our bodies, and we then use that as a foundation or a backstop to go against the illusions of the mind, right? So if I have a self-conception of myself that I can't do this or I can't do that, and then I just simply prove that I can overcome a limit with my body. So it's something like, I don't think I'll ever be able to run 3 miles in 30 minutes. Okay. And then all of a sudden you train and you just show up and, you're consistent. And then all of a sudden You look down at your watch and it's 3 miles and 29 minutes and 56 seconds. It's like, holy shit. Did I just do that thing I didn't believe I could ever do? Did I just break a limit? And the thing that happens when you do that, truthfully, in the body, is you realize how illusory the limits are that you've placed on yourself. And then you start thinking, shoot, where else am I not? Where else am I limiting myself? Where am I putting this artificial governor on myself inside my mind? And how am I chaining up my spirit by not going after excellence or not striving for the things I actually care about or that I actually want to succeed in or I want to fulfill or I want to realize? And those don't necessarily have to be goals, but they can be like, I want to live my life as this type of a person, and I never thought I could become that kind of person. Oh, wait. I also never thought I could run 3 miles in 30 minutes, but I did that. So maybe I am capable of doing something a little bit more. So generally speaking, yes, that's how it works. But you're even more on the money when you say like, there's more particular lessons. I'm also of the belief that if we are aiming sport at the spirit, we are aiming at it in kind of like this artistic, creative expression of ourselves, like arena. Well, just like I'm drawn to certain types of music or I'm drawn to certain types of art, I'm going to be drawn to certain types of motion patterns with my body. And I simply just say motion pattern as like, I like to run or I like to swim or I like to jump or I like to kick around a football, right? Like a predictable pattern where when you are engaged in that motion, you feel alive. You feel like I really enjoy this just for the sake of moving. For me, I'm a trail runner. I love trail running. The moment I got hooked on trail running was my very first trail run, and I was running downhill and I had to jump over a couple of like loose rocks and some roots. And you know, when you're running downhill and you jump, you can catch a little bit of that air, right? You catch a little bit of that like weightlessness feeling. And I just remember like feeling that and then coming down on my feet and keep moving. And I just thought, where has this been all my life? Because I am hooked because I love going fast. I love running and I love the forests and I love hiking, but I never done that all together. And it was like this instant click that I was like, yeah, I need to be doing this all the time. Like this is something that's inside of me that I'm being connected to through the experience and through my obvious enjoyment of what I'm doing. So there are particular virtues, there are particular characteristics, there are particular skills that I'll gain mentally and spiritually from different motions, depending on what they are. You're not going to learn the same lessons going to the gym and getting under a heavy barbell that you are going out for like a 2-hour trail run. And I'm not suggesting one's better than the other, although I mean, I have my bias, obviously.
Yeah.
It's just that different personalities are drawn to different things that, you know, speak to their spirits and their creativity and their passion. And those are going to then transfer specific lessons and different character traits into the people who practice them from their heart.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. I used to be like a gym person for a long time. I used to go like, almost every day. I was always in the gym, and I was, I was cycling through the exact same exercises, and each time I was in there, I was doing this, I was doing that. I had I was tracking like everything, all the weights and everything, and like at that time, I enjoyed it. I was like, okay, cool, it's good. I'm going in, like I'm going to up my weight here by 2 kilos, or I'm going to up my reps on this one. And I was kind of constantly making these very small incremental improvements. I mean, at the start, the improvements were like quite a lot, and then they kind of had these diminishing returns, but I was still I was enjoying it to a degree. And I had a shoulder injury in about 2017, I think it was. And I was bench pressing, and I had terrible form, and I didn't have anyone spotting me. I was trying to do too much weight. I was trying to push it just too much, and I did something to my shoulder. It was never quite clear what I did. I don't know if I tore something or dislocated it. I could never quite get to the bottom of what happened. But I've kind of suffered ever since this from the shoulder injury, to various degrees. But anyway, after this injury happened, I kind of got into different forms of exercise. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, what can I do? Because I was struggling. I couldn't do weights, but I then got into calisthenics, and I was like, okay, well, maybe this is supposed to be kind of like, you still got all of that strength. It's a very good strength builder, but it doesn't have the same toll on the body. It's not kind of like this compound exercises that can cause injury so much. So normally, like, you're a bit less injury prone doing it. I got into it. I just loved it. I started, like, rather than going to the gym, I was going to parks. I was doing it outside. I was getting up in the morning and, like in that kind of like morning sun, doing a workout, like getting the sun on my skin. And I just like really loved this form of exercise, did it for a long time. And I kind of realized, like, through that, I was like, I'm not really a gym person. Like, I thought I liked it just because it was the done thing and it's so normalized. And, I hate this this thing that people say, like there's a lot of people like on these kind of like fitness bro people, and they're always like, lift heavy things and stuff like this, lift heavy rocks. They kind of like do this whole like play on like the grug brain thing, just like go and lift heavy things. It's like, that is such a narrow way to look at like exercise. I'm not like, saying, okay, don't go to the gym or something. If that's your outlet, that's your outlet. But it's like, there's so many ways to train your body outside of that. And I got in last year. I had a friend who got me into jiu-jitsu. Like, he was like, hey, come over to my jiu-jitsu gym and, I try it out. And I kind of wanted to try martial art for a while. And I went and joined him, and I was like, man, I love this. Like, for me, that was even a step up again. I kind of went from thinking like, I'm going to always be a calisthenics guy, to being like, I could definitely become the martial arts guy, because that feeling of having someone in front of you, and they're trying to, they're trying to be you, and you're trying to be them. You're both kind of like in this tussle where you're trying to get each other to submit. And that adrenaline that goes when you're in that situation, because part of my problem with sport is that, like, I feel like I give up a little too easy when I'm really at the edge of something. Like, sometimes I'm like, I really should just go that extra 100 meters or whatever, or I should really, do the extra pull up. And sometimes I'm too easy on myself. But when you're doing martial arts, you can't do that. You've got someone else. And if you take your foot off the gas, they're going to submit you, they're going to choke you out or whatever it is. So you have to stay on like, keep your foot on the gas. And I was finishing these jiu-jitsu sessions, and at the end of it, I was like, I could barely even stand up. I was just so exhausted because I'd found something which forced me to kind of like move past that kind of red line that I'd normally stop at. And, it was kind of a combination of like, I guess it was really just adrenaline, because I wasn't even noticing it. It wasn't like I would get to the end of it and be like, oh my God, that was so difficult. Like, when I was in it, I just felt like I was giving it my everything. And it was only once I stopped and, you finish rolling or whatever, and you go to stand up, and I was just like, oh my God, like, I cannot stand. And I realized that for me, like, combat sports is a really, really awesome outlet. I actually have taken a break from it because I had the shoulder injury came back, and I was kind of spent about 6 months last year in like just complete chronic pain. I mean, it was just awful. I was getting diagnosed with all sorts. All I need surgery. It's a whole nother story. But I'm really looking forward, once I'm kind of like stopped traveling and I'm living in one place, I want to get back into that, because I really feel like it gave something to me, and not just in the sense of like my body. Like, I did feel like my body, aside from the injuries, which is one thing, but aside from that, like, my body felt good. It felt like I was doing good things for my body, but also my mind. It was a really good outlet. Like, I would notice if I didn't do it, and I'd go there, take everything out, and the clarity of my mind after a session was just absolutely awesome. I just wish that more people would experiment with different like sports, different ways of doing stuff, because I'd like to get your thoughts on that, really. Like, this kind of, lift heavy things, attitude that kind of circulates around. It seems to me to just really, I don't know, it doesn't do justice to exercise and sport. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I love that story. And the smile that you have on your face when talking about how much jiu-jitsu has like brought some meaning into your life is exactly the type of thing that I'm interested in promoting. Like, to me, it's a symptom of the seriousness of the adult world. Like, adults aren't supposed to play. And the way we're supposed to play as adults is consumption. We're not supposed to play in any other way.
Yeah.
Our playing is watching TV. Our playing is going out drinking. Our playing is going on fancy vacations, lying on the beach, right? These are the acceptable plays, the acceptable play methods that adults are told that are there for them. Playing isn't getting a hobby. Playing isn't like developing a craft. Playing isn't like becoming an artist, right? It's doing the opposite of the things that kids do, is sort of like what we think adults should be doing, which to me is perverted and inverted, because children have so much wisdom and knowledge in their actions because they are unblemished by sort of like the restrictions and the constraints of like the world around them in terms of like social relationships and just knowledge. So I love my kids. I love watching my kids because they are these beakers of raw emotion and raw action and raw experience, and it's unfiltered, and it teaches you so much. And the adult world is illusion. It's all illusion. Everybody is putting up a mask. Everybody is lying to each other. Nobody is doing really anything with their hearts. And then when somebody does do something with their heart, or like they stand up on a principle, they look like, they have like 3 heads on them, and people are like, what's wrong with you? Like, that's the whole COVID thing. Like, that was the whole COVID thing. Like, for the people who were like, you know what? I actually have a strong conviction against this, and I'm going to live on that strong conviction. Like, how did people respond to that? Not well. They don't like it, right? We're not supposed to care about those things as adults. The subjective is way less important than the objective, right? And so when it comes to moving our bodies, that's what happens. It's like the only acceptable play area for adults with their bodies is in the gym, because the gym is serious, where I can stack weight, where I can progress, where I can be serious with it. And so I think there's part of that goes with it. I think a lot of people love lifting heavy, and I think that's a part of it too. And it appeals to a particular mindset. It appeals to a particular aggression that people have within them, because when I step up to a heavy barbell and I don't have aggression, and I don't have all my focus, and I don't have like that hostility almost like towards the bar, it's going to kill me. Like, it has the potential to kill. It has the potential. Like, if I step up to a heavy deadlift, I have the potential of paralyzing myself if I'm not totally invested in the next 10 seconds of intense motion. So I've got to bring everything I have, right? So like a lot of people, especially dudes, a lot of dudes gravitate towards that kind of an expression, right? Okay. So I think testosterone also promotes that kind of an outburst. And I think there's some positive elements of that. Like, I do some weight training. I do cross training. I hate it. I don't like weight training, but I do it. And sometimes I feel that, like my arms are about to fall off, but I really need to like bring all my intense focus to like just get through the final set. And it's, that's good for me. That's good for me to expose myself to different types of movements, because I'm learning different things. The problem is that the gym bros only do gym bro things. That's the problem. The problem isn't the lift heavy. The problem is like, I only lift heavy, and like, okay, now you're stunting yourself, and now you're overemphasizing certain characteristics and certain virtues within yourself, and you're neglecting to develop other ones. Which is one of the reasons why I like endurance training particularly. And I think when we're talking about personal development and we're talking about spiritual growth, I think endurance is likely the best arena. Although, again, I'm biased and I'm open to arguments against that. But I have a few reasons why I believe that is. I think endurance mostly mimics our lives. I don't think our lives resemble a heavy barbell. I don't think our lives are 10 seconds of intense action, right? I think our lives are just like, oh my gosh, it's a long duration and I have a plan, and the plan just keeps getting messed up with all these unforeseen circumstances. And how do I keep moving when I don't want to keep moving anymore and I just want to shut it down? It's like, well, you can't shut it down because life doesn't allow you to shut it down, and you have to just keep moving forward through it. And endurance, like that's what you learn in endurance. You learn how to problem solve. You learn how to troubleshoot. You learn how to go within yourself to figure out the juice that's going to get you through the next 10 times you want to quit, right? And how to eat the discomfort along the way. And sort of like what you mentioned a little while back about the body teaches you how to go through struggle and incorporate that as a positive. Because it's like, shoot, I went through that hard workout, but the next time I went back, I had stronger muscles and that workout wasn't so hard. So actually the discomfort allowed me to grow. So then you can actually implant that pattern into your mind and into your spirit where it's like, no, actually the adversity is the opportunity. What is it? The obstacle is the way, right? Like you teach yourself not to fear discomfort. You teach yourself to be courageous in the face of fear and to use the discomfort as a growth mechanism. And I think endurance is really great for that because of the duration of time that we're out. And I just think it mimics life. And that just really, I think, supercharges what you can spiritually get out of the activities personally. But I think it's that kind of combination of factors that we want to be thinking about when aiming our spirits or aiming sport or physical activity towards our spirit. A lot of people, and it's not a gym bro thing, but I just think a lot of people who are in athletics, just they're using it for their body and they're superficial in the way that it touches their mind, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's just a gym bro thing. I think a lot of road runners suffer from this thing too, where they're just obsessed up on pace and they're obsessed on numbers. Because what is it that we care about? We care about the objective. I care about how many pounds are on the barbell that I just lifted? How fast did I just run that 10K? What are my splits, right? Like most people, when they're using their bodies, only care about the objective. They're dominated by the numbers. Then that blocks them off from opening up the experience to their spirits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. You know, you got me thinking about a lot of things there. But what you just said about, that the barbell doesn't mimic life, but the endurance activities kind of mimic life more closely. I'd agree with that. I mean, yeah, when you go into the gym, the thing is like, yeah, okay, so maybe you say, okay, like I'm going to lift this much on the barbell and that's my target. But as soon as you've done that, maybe you say, and this is the other thing, like, rather than being like, okay, I want to get this many reps, you'll change the reps to get the weight. People will be like, oh, I want to get my personal best, so I'll do like, 1 rep on this thing. It's like, okay, that's great. That's awesome that you've done that. I'm not saying like that's a invalid goal by any means, but you do the 1 rep and then you can rest for 10 minutes if you want. You can just chill out. You can wait. It's a very, maybe you're doing that exercise and you're kind of like sitting down. It's not a full body exercise. It's just very directed in that one area. You're not feeling that thing go throughout your entire body. You're not feeling your whole body suffer from this thing. It's just a muscle. It's isolated. It's here. And you're like kind of safe from that in a way. Whereas when you're doing, I mean, like I've done like quite a bit of CrossFit and stuff as well. And I know like some people like I find that sometimes these like real heavy like gym bro people, they don't like CrossFit and stuff. And I actually think that CrossFit is really, really awesome because the thing with CrossFit is it's like you have to keep going. It's not like you can just like do your rep and then just wait. I mean, when people are in the gym, they're rarely kind of going there and doing workout and saying, okay, cool, I've only got a 15-second rest here, then I've got to do the next thing. So you're guiding it. You're kind of like setting the scene there for how you do things in the gym in that way. Whereas with something like CrossFit, like you've got that clock going and when you've got your rest period or whatever, it's going to be like 3 more seconds. Like I've got to do this again. I've got to keep going. And by the end of it, like you're wrecked, but it's like, you're having to fit into something which is set for you. You're having to like rise to a challenge more, I think, with something that's endurance. And even though I definitely kind of like suck at it more, I'm not like a good endurance athlete at all. Like I really suffer. But so it's not easy for me. But I think that the value there is higher. Like I would rather be doing that. So yeah, I think the whole lift heavy thing. Again, I'm not completely denouncing it by any means. Like exercise is good, full stop. It's better than not exercising. But this idea that it's just like, oh, what's the max rest? What's my personal best I can get on this thing? It seems a little to me these are the things that we're talking about, the kind of like more spiritual nature. It seems a bit lacking in that compared to other stuff.
Yeah, and my perspective is not the elimination of the objective. That's postmodernism, and that's like insanity. My aim is to harmonize the subjective and the objective together and to put them in proper relation with each other. So what's the more important factor for exercise? The subjective. Because that's related to meaning, that's related to our spirit, that's related to feel, that's related to love. And when the numbers don't add up, we don't care because that's not the primary reason why we do it. But, the honesty of the body demands records. It demands measurements. It demands an objective understanding of what we've done. So we want to be able to backfill the subjective with the objective. So I don't focus on the objective, but I don't ignore the objective. Like that's to me the proper relationship when we're talking about physical activity or sport. If I aim for spiritual fulfillment, if I aim, people love barbells, people love lifting heavy. Like the problem, the problem is that that's what's promoted as like the only avenue. That's the only avenue, right, for our health. So the people who are passionate and who really do love weightlifting, right, they don't understand that most people hate it. And the only reason they're there is because they're told that they need to be for their physical health. This is why a lot of people hire physical trainers and then quit within a month, right? It's because they're being taught by someone who has this like passionate, expressive love for exercise, which is hopefully one of the reasons they became a personal trainer, right? And they're coming up against somebody who's like, I hate these things. I hate these motions. The reason why I hired you is because I hate them and I need you to tell me to do them, basically, right? And they're like, all right, you obviously want to know the finer details of like compound moves and like here's your technique. And it's like, I don't need technique. I need you to make me not quit. And it's like there's this gigantic mismatch. So I don't want to seem as if we're piling on to the lifters here, because that's not my intent. That's not my intention. Not my intention at all. I just think because we're presented with such a limited frame of the utility of exercise and sport that it over promotes people who like the gym. Like my sister's a personal trainer. She loves doing push-ups. She's like, I love push-ups. Like I love that feeling. And for me, I hate push-ups. Like I legitimately I do them, but I despise them. And it's that kind of a disconnect. Most people, when we're talking about like, what do you love to do with your body? It's a sport. It's a team game. It's riding your bike or skiing, right? Like it's an activity. It's not lifting weights. There's a small percentage of people that love lifting weights. And you guys and gals, you go get your expression that way. But as you said, we need to blow up that limited understanding and suggest that you're moving your body in an intentional way and you're trying to acquire the skill in order to get better and more technically proficient because you enjoy that, then that's what you should be doing. That's jujitsu. And so many people get hooked onto jujitsu because it is creative. It's expressive. You have to improvise. You have to use your imagination. Like it's totally uncertain. And there's so few outlets for adults where we're encouraged to let that part of us out, which is why I think if we're looking for the maximum value of what sport and physical activity can do for us, we should all be artists. We should all be artists with our body and think about how we want to express ourselves in a way that fulfills a deep desire within us, like love or passion or joy. And then once we've figured that out, like that's the first thing that we need. Then once I've figured that out, then I'm going to go to that's the subjective. Then I'm going to go to the objective. So I'm a trail runner. So how does this work? I went out to the trail. Like this is after my bout with kidney stones where I'm looking at physical activity. So I'm swimming, But that involves me like getting into my car and going to the gym. And I'm somebody who just doesn't want to waste that time. And if I can do something at home, that's what I'm looking for. I don't like lifting weights. Like, I don't like doing the home calisthenics things. But I used to play soccer, so running. Let me try running. Let me try running. So I'm trying running, and then a friend tells me to go to the trail. So I go to the trail, and I get instantly hooked. I get instantly hooked on the trail. So then I'm thinking, all right, if I want to be doing this for a long time and getting faster and getting better, how do I need to objectively train my body? Right? So I have my subjective aim, which is the thing I love to do with my body, that even if you told me I would get zero health benefit from it, I'd still do it just because I like it. And you can actually tell me that there's a negative health benefit and I'll still do it, which is like that sport in a competitive sense is not for our health. That's another misconception people have. Sport is for achievement. Sport is for expression. Sport is for striving. That's why we trade our bodies. That's why athletes play through injury. That's why professional athletes retire and their bodies are hobbled and broken and battered and beaten. It's because you have to trade away a part of your body in order to achieve something, So we've got to find something where we're like willing to straddle that line a little bit. And then because we are adults and we do have responsibilities and obligations, we have to like temper that with the objective training. So for me, that looks like a lot of body weight calisthenics, core exercises, things like jump rope. I got creative with the training, thinking like, what do I need to sustain myself, to have strong legs, to have a good cardiovascular system, so that when I get into my trail running situation, I'm able to just feel it. I'm able to just go fast if I want. I'm able to go slow if I want. I'm able to dial it up or down, depending on how I'm feeling, because that's an expression for me. But I'm not going to be able to physically express myself if I don't objectively take care of my health. So I need to pay attention to nutrition. I need to pay attention to sleep. I need to pay attention to the cross training that's going to allow my body to be strong enough so that I can express myself. It's like if I'm a musician and I never tune my instrument, it doesn't matter how technically proficient I am. This is going to sound like garbage. So I got to be objectively tuning my instrument so that I can subjectively express myself to the fullest capabilities. Something like that.
Yeah.
That's the harmony between the subjective and the objective I want people to aim at when thinking about utilizing sport and physical activity for its greatest value.
Yeah. I mean, and also, I guess just picking up on that point of the greatest value, we've talked a little bit in our last conversation about how kind of sport like prepares you for the world as well, prepares your mindset, prepares you to actually face stuff. Let's talk about that for a little bit, because, we talked, I don't want to go like super into the COVID stuff because we did definitely kind of cover it in the last conversation. But I know that, I guess for people who didn't hear that conversation, you took a big stand on that. You went against everything that was happening at the university, and you were like, I am going to die on this hill. Do you think that you would have had that outlook had you not had this kind of like love of sport and trained your body and, kind of like through that trained your mind in a sense to prepare yourself for this big moment? Because I know, like, I think that it's such a valuable tool for that. Like, you make your body suffer, and then these real world big events come in, and then you say, you know what, like, I felt suffering before, I felt physical suffering, this is nothing, putting myself through this is okay, because like I'm not afraid to suffer. And then you kind of like can overcome that that obstacle essentially. And my feeling is that if more people really like train their body hard, like we wouldn't have had so much capitulation during this kind of big assault on our freedoms.
And yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. And like on the surface, I agree, but I think there's like a lot of things going on as well. So certainly without trail running, I don't think I would have had the strength. And certainly trail running was an outlet for me to replenish myself every week to be strong. Without being able to trail run, I don't know if I would have lasted in a good situation. And in Ontario and in Canada, they closed the parks, dude. Like Literally, they put signs up on all of our provincial parks saying like, the park is closed, you're not allowed in. So every week, going past that sign, going into the forest was a big win, because I'm actively defying, and there weren't many places I can actively defy, because at that moment, if you actively defy, you legitimately make yourself an enemy. You become the opposition, and it's not a comfortable place when you live in a small village of 1,000 people to be known as like maybe the one person in the whole village who's not playing ball. And yeah, I'm not interested in that. So this was a really powerful place for me to defy actively. I think people who are accustomed to pushing their bodies are interested in their own health. And people that are interested in their own health are not just going to take something because somebody else told them to. So I think that's part of it too. You know, I'm confident with what I can do with my body, and I know what my body needs. So when you tell me I have to put something in it, I'm just going to say why. Right? Like, because my body is capable. My body is strong. So I think there is that connection as well. But I'm not so sure it's like I put my body through discomfort, so I'm not afraid of discomfort. I think if you are just somebody who's moving the weight around for the body, you may be blocked out again from the real power, which is the spiritual connection. Or the spirit is the thing that is able to give away the body. The spirit is the thing that's able to say, like, you can destroy my body, but my principle is more important. Like, I will die on this hill. Literally and figuratively, I will die on this hill. Right? There are some things there are fates worse than death, right? Like, that's a spiritual claim, because if you only believe that life is kind of housed in the body, then death is the absolute worst thing that can happen to you, because then it's all over. So without connecting the activity to the spiritual realm, I'm not sure you're able to make that strong of a connection, if that makes sense. But because I am expressing my spiritual aim for perfection and passion and love and creativity through trail running, it lights up the highest parts of me. It lights up the highest levels of my consciousness, if that makes sense. So I'm bringing the entirety of myself to bear, which just means I have a heightened awareness of my entire self, which means I am conscious of the parts that need to be sacrificed and conscious of the parts that must be preserved. And ultimately, because it's subjective, I'm able to then I'm able to correctly prioritize my principles and values over the expediency of the temporal world or of a bodily experience. So I think you're right about what that connection is, but I would just say it has to be deeper than just feeling pain in the body.
Right.
It has to have that spiritual connection where I actively understand how my values and principles are more important than the body, than my own body.
Yeah.
And I think, again, if you're only exercising in a way that's aimed at the body, you're just blocked out. You're not open to that experience, and then you're going to miss that signal.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about, I guess like you have the situation quite often where like athletes will finish their careers and then they'll struggle to kind of fill that void in their life. You know, like you have a lot of athletes who kind of become alcoholics and things like that because they're missing something. There's some void in their life. How do you kind of like mentally prepare for that? Or yeah, I guess like think about that problem. Like, you know, the day when there's going to come a day where you can no longer do trail running, like how will you handle that? And is it something you're already thinking about?
I'll hike or I'll play golf.
but those things will be gone at some point as well. So like at some point,
well, then I'll be gone. Then I'll be gone, and that's fine. My life's not infinite. My experience in this body is not infinite. It's limited, and that means that the experiences that I have in my body are also limited. Like I'm also not a child anymore, right? So the things that I did as a child, I'm no longer able to do, but I've found something else, and I'll evolve and I'll change and I'll adapt. our motto for our team is adapt and overcome, right? So I'll just adapt and overcome. What you described about the pro athletes is what I mentioned about the everyday athlete, like the person who doesn't get to make it to the pros. It's in a form of identity death. It's even more acute, obviously, for a professional athlete where that's all they've ever done and that's all they've ever known. So it's not like I'm just giving up my sport. It's like I'm giving up every single thing I've done, every day of my life for the past like 20 or 30 years. And anybody who's in that situation is going to have a very hard crash. But we recognize that with pro athletes. We recognize, right, because we've seen this pattern a lot. We recognize how difficult that is. So we have sympathy for those people. We still don't have sympathy for like the 19-year-old kid who basically had to hang up his cleats for the last time of his career. He didn't know it, and he suffers this very same process of an identity death, but it's just not on as big of a scale, and we don't think it's as important. So it's about understanding that our bodies are finite, and the ways we're going to be able to move and experience in them and within them is also finite. We should be able to accept that, and we should be able to transition into something that's different and that's more accessible and more acceptable for where we are at in our life. To get a little philosophical here, Aristotle gives us a really nice blueprint as to how we should be thinking about this in terms of like, where should we aim at? Where should we aim at with the body as we age? So in my 20s, I should aim at like aesthetics and like performance. So I should just go after it because I'm young, and I should want to, maximize out that physical potential when I'm young. When I'm like middle-aged, so I'm 38, so this is like I'm in that age, and I'm certainly ensconcing myself in that when I'll move into my 40s. What should I aim at? It's like competence. It's like competence and authority. So your body should work, and people should be able to like see you in action and see respect. So it's not like the arrogance of youth, and it's not the intensity of youth. But it's more about like incorporating wisdom and like a little bit of restraint. And then when you're an old man, like, so when you're 60 or older, like what should you aim your body at? It's like maintenance and prevention and not becoming sick like everybody else around you. Okay. So as we age, we have to be realistic. This is part of the honesty that the body gives us, right? That we don't do ourselves any good by trying to fight against something we can't fight against, which is the march of time. Now, why I say aim sport at your spirit is I think there's a way to integrate all of those positions as we move through life. So when I'm in my 20s, I should try to aim for all three. And when I'm in my 40s, I should try to aim for all three. And when I'm in my 60s, I should try to aim for all three of those. But it's going to look different. They're always going to look a little bit different because I'm not the same person I am when I'm in my 20s or my 40s or my 60s. But the spiritual angle of sport tells me that I should aim for performance and excellence. I should aim for competence and like respect. And I should also aim for maintenance, longevity, and warding off sickness and illness. And if I can combine all that into activities, then I'll be fine. And the activity itself might have to change. But as long as those elements are there and I'm doing it from my heart, like internally, like I'm just driven to do it because I love to do it. Yeah, I'll be over it. I'll be over it no matter what. But that comes with the difficult, like, truth that we're not going to be able to do the same things all the time at the same level because we're aging, and we just got to get real with that. This is another reason why something like endurance is a good aim, because it's something I can be in for a long time and actually progress in for a long time. I can be getting better at endurance when I'm in my 50s. I can still be putting up really awesome performances in endurance when I'm in my 60s and even into my 70s. This is another reason why I love golf so much. It's like I can play golf into my 90s if I want to, but I can still be aiming at getting better. And I can use it as a way to ward off against illness and infirmary. But I can also I can use that to hit every one of those elements, even though I might be like an 85-year-old man. Okay.
Yeah.
An 85-year-old man's not going to move around like a 20-year-old. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't be able to strive within something that's physically like important to me or meaningful to me that I shouldn't be able to want to go for. You know, I got a guy, one of my mutuals, he got turned on to masters sprinting in his 40s. So he became a sprinter, I think at age 42. And I was just talking to him like last week. He's like, yeah, one of my goals is like, I want to compete in the masters sprinting event in my 80s. And I said, well, if you do that, I'm gonna show up in the stands and cheer you on as like a 60-year-old, right? And then I'll be inspired by you. And it's like, he's not gonna run as fast as an 80-year-old as he did when he was in his 40s, but he's gonna be running faster than every other 80-year-old, and that's still pretty cool. Still pretty cool. So it's something about perspective and maturity and just understanding like that we're all headed towards the same end here. We have to become at peace with that. And then we've got to figure out ways in which we can meaningfully and purposefully like live through that life and live through that experience. That's the best we can hope for, is have those days and that time be meaningful to us and have it extend out towards what we believe is a greater purpose that we have in experiencing this life.
Yeah, totally. I do love that sport generally is so open to that as well. Like some people will kind of be like, oh, I can't start this thing now because I'm too old, or I can't, go to the gym because like I'm super overweight and I'm going to like look super bad in the gym amongst everyone else and stuff. But those people, like when they go into those environments, I mean, like for me, I always feel like when you have like a real fat person in the gym and they're like on a treadmill or whatever, I have so much respect for that person, and I kind of sense that the people around me feel that as well. And likewise, like if you go into like a martial arts gym or whatever, and you've got a guy who's like a white belt and is, like 50s or whatever, like I have real respect for that guy. And I feel like that, again, like that's kind of like mutually shared, because it's like, there's no reason to kind of like not participate. And you don't have to like be participating in sport just because like I need to attain something. I need to, attain, like, let's say, maybe you've got like a guy who's a white belt in the 50s. They might never make it to a black belt, right? Like the chances are that'll be very, very difficult for them to do. But like they're there doing it, they're there participating in it for the love of it, for the joy of it. They're still working their body, they're still like amongst everyone, like participating in this kind of like shared experience. And like, I really love that sport offers that. But yeah, it can be kind of scary from the outside. I mean, even for me, like, like starting jiu-jitsu like in my 30s, and like, the guy who introduced me is kind of like in his mid-20s and stuff. And I was like, like, should it be like, is this a thing? And then I go in there and I'm like probably right in the middle, like average age, like of everyone in there. From the outside, sometimes you think, oh, I'm starting this too late, but it's really never too late to start any sport. You might be performing at a different level, but like, why not like get into it? If it speaks to your spirit, then just go for it.
Exactly. And there's something about the adult world, right, where the fear of being seen as a beginner and the fear of making mistakes is something that is like oversized for the adult mind, right? We do not want to be put into a position where we feel as if like we're back in that like subordinate, like I don't know anything position. Because when you're an adult, you're supposed to know things and you're supposed to be in the authority positions. So it takes a lot of humility to put yourself back into those greenhorn shoes and to be the novice, right? And to be the beginner and to make the messy mistakes and to fail multiple times, right? When we get to the adult world, the idea of failing, it's like, no. Like, I don't want to do that. I had enough of that when I was growing up. But that's stagnant, right? That's actually, well, there's no such thing as like being stagnant. You're either moving up or you're moving down. Like, let's be real. And if you think you're stagnant, it's literally, you're just pausing until you go down. Cause that's what's going to happen when you start to settle. And when you stop moving forward, you can only move backwards. So we got to get over our insecurities. We got to get over our fear. We have to realize that embarrassment is the price of admission to personal development and growth, right? Personal development and growth isn't about an end goal. It's about just getting better. So I don't care if that 50-year-old or even he's 60 and he goes to the dojo and he gets a white belt and he might be at it for 10 years and he might only get a couple stripes on his white belt. But hey, you know what? He's better than he was. Mm-hmm. He's better than he was.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters. Like, let's just get better. Let's just make sure we're moving forward. Let's make sure we're progressing. That's what gives us meaning. That's what gives us happiness. Happiness is working towards the goal, not achieving the goal. So this idea that we should ever be this end product is another one of these fallacies of the rational mind. It's like we're never an end product. We're always able to improve ourselves in body, mind, and spirit. So if I just keep eking out small little gains in each of those places, and sometimes like in terms of the body, standing still is making the gain because the body naturally deteriorates, right? So sometimes standing still is actually moving forward, right? Because if you were to stop, you would go back automatically. That's all we're after here. That's all we're after. We're just after better. We're just after improvement. Like, and it's a never ending process. And sport teaches us this because I can always do a little bit more. People are still trying to break like all of the world records in every single sport.
Yeah.
It's not like there's a sprinter out there who's like, oh, I'm not going to try to beat Usain Bolt's 100-meter record. Like they all want to beat his record. Every single one of them, right? Like that's one of the things that drives them is to break the limit and to push potential and to push like achievement and excellence forward. And that moves us all up. So that's what I would say. I'd say like, you got to live in the process. You have to live in the subjective, and you have to live in the knowledge that there's no end to any of this stuff. There's only one end for us. We all have the same end, right? We all have the same end in this life. So let's just try to endeavor to get a little bit better every day until that end gets to us. And that's it. That's what personal development is. Let's just get better. And let's not be afraid of what it means to get better, which is usually embarrassment, which is usually like, shit, that's self-deception. That's delusion. Like, it's not easy. It's not easy. And the confidence you gain from doing hard physical things is that you realize you're just not a weak person. You're like, well, if I'm strong enough to do that, surely I can be strong enough to face off against the things that scare me on the inside.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean I got to face it all at once, but maybe I just take the first step. Maybe I just get a little bit better. Right?
Awesome, man. That's a really nice point to start ending up on, but just, it's going to be a bit of a drawn out end because I just want to like discuss a few of the things that you've got going on. The first is the flag behind you. What does it say? Oh, tribal training. Okay, cool. So is that
tribal training?
Is that your company or?
Not my company, but I work. I'm one of the coaches. It's an endurance training team. It's online.
I love the image there. It looks like a kind of like a tribal warrior type thing. What's the thought there?
Well, I didn't create the name or the mascot, but I was consulted really early on by Ryan, who runs the team, and he wanted to use the team as a vehicle to share the personal development and growth that he had experienced through his own endurance journey, becoming a triathlete and doing his first 70.3 and his first Ironman. And he came to me to backfill it with the history and the philosophy and the value of athletics. And we hit it off immediately. And I'm a trail runner, so we've worked really hard together. And that's why I was brought on to the team to help live out this vision. So the tribal element, it's really like the team, it's the community. The really cool part about what we were building is endurance is an individual sport, right? Like you're a triathlete, you just compete by yourself. Like you're an ultra runner, you just compete by yourself. But what we've done is we've given a community apparatus to the individual pursuit. So now you are surrounded by people who are all doing the same thing as you for the same reasons. And we've got a whole calendar of things that we do monthly in terms of exploring the personal development side. But really the magic of our team is our team races. So this is when we have like an organized event where 10 plus athletes are all traveling to the same race, and we're doing like a team experience for a few days and doing the race together. And then like post race, we're also hanging out. So in April of this year, we did our very first big monster team ultra, which was a 100-mile team race in Zion National Park. There were 10 of us, and our goal was to start as a unit of 10, move through the course as a unit of 10, and then finish as a unit of 10. We all shared a house together for 2 days before the event, people flying in from all over the United States, and a couple from Canada. Pardon me. And what that does is it allows us to release the fear and the anxiety of having to do something alone and being able to really lean on each other for support. And that allows us to access these deeper experiences within the race and beyond the race. So for people who are interested in what that looks like, I would highly encourage you to check out our team podcast, which is the Tribal Training Podcast, where we have an immense archive now of our team race experiences. One in Zion, where Ryan and I have a 5-hour podcast that's a race recap, but we also have each individual athlete who was on the team. They have their own individual race recap pods as well. So you can really get the sense of what it means when I say like aiming at the subjective or going after the spiritual side of sports. Like listen to those podcasts and it will be pretty obvious what that means. We also just 2 weeks ago had 10 athletes compete at the 70.3 in Chattanooga in Tennessee. And that was just like a reaffirmation of the power of these team events, where individually you may be apprehensive, you may have anxiety, you may have fear, you might look at your performance and think, oh crap, like I suffered, I didn't hit any of my time targets, this was a waste of time, like I really feel bad about myself. That doesn't happen in our team. Doesn't happen with us. Even if people DNF, and like spoiler alert, like only 3 of the 10 people finished the Zion race. So 7 people DNF'd. Actually, one person didn't even start. They got pneumonia the day before the race. They weren't even able to start. So we're not interested in like the finishes. We're not interested in the belt buckles. We're not interested in like the medals that go around our neck. We're interested in using these experiences to extract out character building, like moments, and then to notice them, talk about them, experience them, and then incorporate them outside of the arena in our training and in our lives. So like our team is just a bunch of killers, dude. Like it's just a bunch of killers because it's normal people using these experiences to like bring about massive internal change within themselves, which then has massive external like changes. So people getting like promoted at work, starting new businesses, like jumping into relationships, like really having that bleed over effect into their lives. And it's all through the support of the team. And that's sort of like what the tribal element means. It's also just like awesome imagery.
Yeah.
Like the hatchet it's super. I could show you, like, if you give me 1 sec, I could show you something really special.
Sure.
In your audience. Yeah. Just give me one sec. And in terms of like what we do, like when you do something big with the team, we commemorate it. And for everybody who went on the Zion trip, and this wasn't even for the people who finished, this is for the people who raced, this is for the pacers, and this is for our camera guy who really like was part of the team. We got these Unity axes.
No way.
So this is it's a museum level artifact that was made by a lovely lady from the Cheyenne tribe in northern Arizona. And we all got these axes. Mine's got a heart in it. Thanks, Ryan. Mine's got a heart in it because I'm all about love. But it's stuff like this. Like we're commemorating your willingness to take on a gigantic challenge. We don't care that you finished the race or you didn't finish the race. Like we got a guy who DNF'd at a 70.3 last year. He didn't make it out of the swim. This year, he completed the 70.3, right? So he redeemed himself. And we were on a call last night and we're asking, like, what's the biggest thing? And he's like, racing with the team and seeing everybody else. And like, he ended up stopping his own race to help another athlete who was cramping, right? Like, and he's like, I didn't even care about finishing. I was just so filled up by being with the people that are all doing it with me that like I could have like quit the race at, multiple times and I would have felt so fulfilled and so gratified and like satisfied and content. Like the big words on our lips is gratitude. We are just gratitude and celebration. When we get to a race, it's like we've already done the work to transform and transcend ourselves so we can just celebrate our achievement of becoming a better person through the process of training. For us, it's like we transform and transcend before the start line, and then the race is the realization of it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I might be a little all over the place, but I'm really passionate and I love the team so much.
That's cool. No, I can tell you're super passionate about it. That's awesome.
If anybody, I love the team, bro. It's like, it's magic. It's when I talk about like my ideas in the abstract, which I've done a lot of on this podcast, I apply it through my coaching, but really it's being most realized through this team because it's like, hey, dude who was an athlete growing up and then who lost it because society said you were stupid for thinking you could ever get it back. Where are you going to go? You're going to come on our team. That's where you're going to go. Like you're going to find us and you're going to get into a sport that you can progress at, that you can work your way up into the ranks, right? Like we're not a team of professionals, but the people on our team who are lifers, and it's a lot of them, they're going to start dominating races in 5 or 10 years once they've been in this endurance game for a long time. So it's like eventually our team will become a little bit more performance based, but that's only because we've been in the process for so long. And we don't care about where you start. Like, it doesn't matter to us. We want people who demand more of themselves and who refuse to settle and who refuse to quit on a better version of who they are and that want to prove themselves. Like, if that sounds like you would belong in our tribe. Like that's really it. Like that's really what it's all about for us. As I said, personal development team. It's a personal development group that masquerades as an endurance training group, as an endurance training team. So yeah, I mean, I could talk forever about it, but go check out those tribal pods. And that would be a really great place to learn and feel about what we're doing.
Okay, yeah, you'll have to send me the links to that because I don't think you've got a link to this on your link tree.
And I don't. No. I don't. I probably should actually.
Yeah,
I'm not on a lot of the pods. I'm only on a few of them. That's why, because it's not my pod.
I guess like send me the link, or if you put it on your link tree between now and when this is released, then I'll have the link tree there in the description as well, so people can get in touch. All right, man. Anything else you want to like flag up? Any of these other, I know you got Substack. I haven't checked it out, but is that just kind of like sports philosophy stuff? Like, what's the Substack about?
Yeah, it's a place. It's a little outlet for ideas and for stories about sports. It's a once a week thing that I do. I'm in the process of like writing down a lot of my philosophies, like academically. I come from the academic world. I've published a monograph. Like, I had to get out of that world for a little while and get into the world of like application and experience. And now I think I got the proof. Like I got the proof that it all works through the team and through the success of my one-on-one coaching clients. So the Substack is kind of a place for me to just get more comfortable writing about these ideas as I'm also researching them. So I'm backfilling now the experience with the academic literature, and then eventually I'll be writing this up. I don't know when. We'll figure that one out as it goes. It'll be an emergent process. So another thing I'll just throw out. So if you enjoy how I speak about things in terms of the connection between mind, body, and spirit, and how we use those to crush limiting beliefs that are inside ourselves, both when it comes to fitness, but also maybe when it comes to just overall mindset and attitude. I work outside of the team, and I have a whole range of options for people who want to just work one-on-one with me, all the way up to like year-long intensive programs to like one-off calls and everything in between. So if you're out there listening and you resonate deeply with what I've said, and you think I could be somebody who could help guide you through some of this stuff, hit me up, and it would be my honor. Be my honor to help you.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that's really great. Yeah, I love what you're doing. I love the stuff that you're speaking about. Your passion is just like super infectious, and you know, like your belief in sport and the way that it can help people and help people to advance, and not just in the area of their own body, but in terms of like, yeah, the way they live their life and the mind and the spirit and everything. Like, it's awesome talking about these things with you. So thanks for another like really great conversation. I'll just let you kind of sign things off. Any parting words you want to leave for my listeners and stuff. But yeah, thanks again from me, man, and look forward to the next one.
Yeah, thanks so much for giving me the space and the opportunity to profess and to share my beliefs about this. It's really helpful for me, but also I think very valuable things for your audience to think about, especially when we're trying to think about like building us up as resilient individuals against like an inhuman system. Like, they're coming after our spirits, friends. They're coming after our spirits. So we need to be able to have strong ones. And this is a way that we can train them to become strong that not a lot of people are talking about, at least in such a deep and effectual way, I guess that I will say. So just thank you, number one. And my final parting, dude, move your body in beautiful ways, people. That's it. Just move your body in beautiful ways. Like when you think about exercise, I want you to think about words like creativity, imagination, passion, love, joy. That's it. Start there, and the rest will work itself out.
Amazing. Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks, Johnny. Appreciate it, bud.